Today is actually just a preview. We are here to just share a bit about this program, the genesis, how we created it, and of course, what's inside it, right? And of course, the idea is that if we get enough interest, we will want to kick off this program this year, right? And hopefully have around 10, 15 companies representing around 30 to 40 participants, because each company can send up to 3, right? And then that will be a nice size to learn from each other, and of course to learn from the different resource and mentors that we have. So before we start, I'll introduce a bit about what's AngelCentral. So AngelCentral is a club, it's a pretty active club, around 140 angels. We started in 2018. So our chief angel is Xiaoning over there, right? I'm her other half, and then Teck Mo is our third partner, okay? So we've been around quite a while, probably one of the more active angel clubs. We fund around 5-6 million every year. To date, we funded, I think, $35 to $40 million into different startups, right? And all along, we've been focused on angels. So, of course, when we fund the companies, we do work with the companies quite a fair bit. But a lot of it has been all angel-related stuff. And in fact, our main vision is we want to help angels and all that. Then, over the years, we realized that, hey, we've been sitting on boards of startups, helping startup founders. Startup founders come to us, ask on different things. They come to our angels. And then we realized that actually we do need to also do something for the founders, right? And that's the idea behind this ScaleUp at AngelCentral. Okay, and you can see that we have value add, right? So if you look at the number there, right, a lot of our companies from the time we fund till just a few years later, their average revenue has grown quite a lot. Number of employees also grow quite a lot. And the problems become very different as you grow, right? Between a 3-man show, 5-man show, it's actually very easy to control culture, discipline, everything. But once you go past 10, 15, 20, 50, 100, it gets trickier and trickier. And what is needed is even harder, right? So I'll share more about that later, right? And of course, these are skewed. Of our companies, actually, the winners are much larger, right? So like one of our biggest companies is a company called PetSnap, right? I think they have 1,200 employees. So then the scale is very different also, right? Okay, so I will ask Ning and Hong Ting to introduce themselves, and Xiaoning will also introduce Teck Mo, right? Because he will be one of the key facilitator trainers also. Okay, so these are the 4 people who will be doing it at least for the first year, right? So my own background, I mean, can Google. So together with Ning, we used to run a job portal to a decent size, around 3+ million profit, right? Around 150 staff. Right, and then we did it without VC funding, so we own most of it, right? And then after we sold it, we actually transitioned into a semi-retirement kind of thing. So we spent a lot of time working with startups. We've invested almost $9-10 million of our own money into startups and VC funds, all in this region, right? Some of them have grown pretty big. Some of them are still growing big in the process. Some of them are still very small, still trying to figure out, or maybe we just invested last year, right, or year before. Actually, outside of that, I personally volunteer a lot of other boards actually. So I'm on the IT board, used to be doing Spring, now I boss, even the educational schools, private schools, right? They're quite profitable businesses also. So do have a pretty good spectrum from a board and execution level, and also from an investor, right? So that's my profile. Maybe I pass over to Hong Ting. Hong Ting just share a bit about himself, right? Because this program, end of the day, a lot of it is the facilitation that's going on, right? So the trainers do matter a lot.
Hi, I'm Hong Ting. So I used to run a software house. At our peak, we were at about 200+ people. The part after I exited the company that when I look back gave me the most pleasure was that somehow we became the CTO training hub, where a lot of our ex-employees went on to become VP of engineering, CTOs of other startups. So that was one of the things that made me feel very happy that I managed to walk this journey with a bunch of them. I think the reason why I wanted to help out with the ScaleUp program, a huge part is I believe at the core that healthy entrepreneurs would build healthy companies that build healthy societies. And that's the way I would like to help improve the way people live, right? So And I have been doing this as part of an organization called Entrepreneurs Organization. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of it. So as part of the other organization, there's a accelerator program that we help companies be able to scale to a certain size so that they can become full members of EO. The part that always irked me a little bit was that we don't work. EO has a lot of members which are non-tech. So as I talk with them, a lot of the things that I know and I want to do, they are not quite implementable. So when Ning and Dashim said that this was something that they wanted to do, as part of the AngelCentral community, I wanted to help out and build this program as well. That's why I'm here.
So the team has very nicely linked up the LinkedIn profile, so please feel free to add us. I'm just going to do a quick intro on Teck Mo. Teck Mo among us is actually the most senior. He's 63 this year, but the year he retired was actually because he used to run Motorola Asia Pacific. So he is very experienced, and then before that he was with Pacific Internet and running the whole organization. So his background is very corporate, and he was very experienced as a sales development, sales training person. So when actually Dashing and I met him in 2015 or 16, that was actually before we started AngelCentral, and we met him because we were actually looking at a few startups together, and then we met up for coffee because we were on 4 cap table together. And then when we caught up with each other, we realized that our philosophy towards supporting founders were very similar. And that's why in 2016, when I went on to take on a part-time role with, not really a part-time role, 25% time role with, what was it? Yes. Oh yeah, somebody was reminding. My brain fog very bad. With Entrepreneur First, they wanted to get more people, and that's why I approached Teck Mo. So we spent 2016 all the way until EF exited Singapore. We were actually working very actively as venture partners. What Dashing didn't share about why AngelCentral was set up in 2018 was actually because of that journey that we had personally as exited founders. When we swapped side to become investors, we realized that in the period of time, a lot of founders were struggling with their early funding. So we thought that with our experience, we could help. However, I don't want to be another incubator. So that's why we set up AngelCentral, and was very clear from the onset that AngelCentral's direction was towards angel investors, because there were a lot of incubation programs in the market, and you could learn how to build a business from there. But the incubation programs are not there to support the angels. And that's why we came out with workshops, we came out with programs to support the angel investors so that we breach you better, right? However, again, past 3 years, 22, 23, so between Dashing and myself, so just now he shared, by the way, we're married to each other. Okay, just to make it clear. So 22, 23, I would say there was a funding winter. And before that, our personal portfolio, he shared the amount of money that we invested. Half of the money was actually directly into startups. That accounted for almost 48, 49 companies. Out of 48, 49 companies, we had a lot of direct interactions. And then, of course, through EF, through other programs that we work with the schools, we have a lot of front seat roles, and we realized the problem that a lot of founders were struggling with. And I think some of you actually probably would have experienced it, especially after you raise the money. You realize that I need to scale faster by spending money. Is that really the best way to scale? And I think our own experience, like he shared just now, we didn't get funding, but we scaled. I think at the peak, by the time we left, AngelCentral had about 150 people. Our EBITDA, this is actually a term that I don't hear at all in the past 5, 10 years. Our EBITDA was 30%. Okay, and that was actually a mindset that I don't see in the generation of startup. The generation of startup is always, I spend $1, I lose, I earn $1 worth of business, I probably spend $3 earning it. That is not sustainable. Okay, so I thought we want to start a program, and that's why end of last year I pitched them plus Teck Mo I pitched the three gentlemen to say that I want to do this. Can y'all do this with me? And so they agreed. And that's how we're doing this now.
Yeah, okay, so that's the why, right? So basically, we work with a lot of companies and we discovered that actually there are a lot of gaps in the knowledge. And there are other ways, there are many ways to learn. You can attend an MBA program, you can attend EO, right? Which is how Hong Ting and me actually learn quite a lot. You can go YPO. So Ning didn't share, actually Tengmo has been a long time YPO member, right? So he also has the experience. But you can read books, you can go find entrepreneurs to talk to them. But we discovered that for this piece whereby people are trying to, your product market fit, you got 1, 2 million, maybe up to 5 million revenue, you want to scale it a lot more, there isn't actually that much help, right? And then there's actually grounded in Southeast Asian actual experiences. And that's why we come up with this program. So we're trying to give as much localized experiences, practices, frameworks that people already do, tried and tested in some way. And then hopefully it helps the founder, right? So, but let me share a bit more on how. So, yeah, still got some sales stuff. Okay, so we work with a lot of tech startups. Okay, you can see that. So, and they are from varying sizes, and we help them from very different ways. Of course, the most hands-on one is actual board seat, whereby we talk to the founder and the management team every month, right? Some of them are like Hong Ting. I think he's a fractional CTO, right, for some companies, right? And Hong Ting is here because. If you look at Ning, me, and Tengmo's profile, we totally miss the tech gap, right? And that's why we need somebody who is really good from a strategic level and who's really built a decent-sized tech company, right? Actual software, I think mobile coding company, right? Yeah, so that's very important, right? So some of them we work on slightly less involved basis. Like I think quite a good of the founders here, besides investing in them, they're actually part of the forum that we are part of. So through forum format, we also meet every few months and we share. And then when we share, it becomes beneficial to each other, right? So you can understand more later as we go on. But these are some of the companies we actually have been helping. And then also not just small companies. I think this is where it's interesting when you get a bunch of older people, right? We're also on boards of pretty big organizations. So like when I joined some of the government-related boards, I actually learned a lot. Because I learned what structure looks like from a much bigger organization and how they view things. Becomes a lot more on governance, systems, processes, a lot less about detail. The detail is almost always done pretty well already, right? At least for our government. And of course, Ning has her own experience, and Tengmo and Hong Ting have their own experience on bigger organizations also, right? Interestingly, some of the things don't change that much, right? Okay, so after interacting with so many founders, right, over so many years, easily 10 years, hundreds, if not thousands of founders by now. I think it doesn't run too much because we're all trying to build a business that solves a problem sustainably, such that it pays the bills and can grow, and later hopefully more than pays the bills, have profits for shareholders. And essentially that's it, right? And then we hope to scale it up, right? Rinse and repeat enough so that it's scaled up. That's just a nice way of saying that. But as we go along, there are a lot of problems. So we hear so many recurring themes that happen all the time. So the first one is, as we get bigger, so maybe we should have a show of hands at this moment. So I'm assuming everyone is a founder here, right? And even non-founders? Yes, 1, 2, okay. But management, right? Definitely helping the founder to run. All of you at least, the team size at least 10, 20 people and up? More than 10, 20 people and up? Yeah, most? Okay, all right. So as you get bigger, right, one of the key things founders tell us is that, hey, my co-founder can't people manage, right? Very common, right? All my key staff who join me right at the start, maybe great salesperson, but now my sales team is 10 people, I don't even need 10, 6, 7 people, can't manage well, right? Becomes an impediment to your growth rather than the aid to your growth. So that's one very common one. Jialat just means, oh no, I'm in trouble. Just for the non-locals here. Second, this one happens more in our tech world. We have a bunch of very brilliant founders, but somehow in the co-founding team, they are missing that key technical person who can actually not just build, but design the team down the road and scale it up. Basically, a whole thing, right? As a key co-founder or CEO. So, and it's real, we have companies that can raise $4-5 million, and in the end, they can actually tell me that they're still not confident of their tech after 5 years. 5 years. The business already doing a few million turnover, they're still not confident in their tech. which means they are constantly second guessing their tech team and rebuilding, right? Especially if you have bad luck, you get a lousy CTO for 2 years and you don't dare to fire because you can't gauge. I think that's a very big problem, right? So we've seen that happen before. You'll be shocked, huh? Can you imagine? It's like as though my main business is publishing a magazine, but my writers suck and my editors suck and I don't know it, right? But that one, everyone can tell whether you got good writing or not. But unfortunately for code, you can't. Not so easy, right? So that's one big one. Third one, prima donna, they are common lah. For those sales-driven companies, sales staff climbing on top of everyone, but then I need the person, or it could be a co-founder. I need that person. So how do I manage that person, right? Because you will never get really big if the company doesn't grow based on process and institutions. It cannot be growing big on the back of one person. Usually doesn't work that way, right? And then of course, case 4, very common one. Everyone raising money, right? So, and everyone entering US happened a few years ago. Oh, so I must go too. Is that really true? Right? You follow like all the hot money follow into all the agri-tech in Indonesia, then now with e-fishery like that, right? It's a disaster, right? So, so founders will always think about all these things, right? So, and the list goes on. A lot of founders come to us, complain about things. And I think if your business is really working, and this workshop, this program is really more for people whose business already has product market fit. You need not be profitable, but you definitely got runway, right? At least you got 12 to 24 months runway or you're profitable, right? Then your brain can think beyond just getting that product market fit and the revenue, right? Right? So then what do these founders usually think about? Actually, a lot of things they think about is about their personal role. If you are a founder and you don't think about yourself much, and you're not introspective, and you are not trying to improve yourself all the time, could be wrong, but chances are it's not going to be a very big one, right? If you meet any great founder, whether it's Charles Wong or Charles and Keith or anybody, right? Min Liang or Razor, all this, right? You meet them, you realize they change every 1, 2 years. They are very introspective and they conquer themselves first before they conquer anything. So that actually is very important. And I think through a lot of interaction with founders, one of the key things is they realize what we share, a lot of it is actually about self-management, right? When you and how you hone your skills to know whether a certain risk reward is worth doing or not. Right? It's a lot of prioritization, a lot of spend, right? So the key thing on a lot of founders' mind, actually, I realized indirectly when they talk to us, is they're trying to figure out, so what do I do in my company now? Right? Especially the company gets even bigger. Sometimes you get big to the size that you actually your GM seems fine already. Right? And then you don't have to be there all the time. But is it really fine? Is it really time for you to go overseas? Or will the further screw it up at home? Do you really have the process? Do you really have a strong business or not? Or is it just happen to be lucky for that year, right? Once you run out, then you realize all your senior management are screwing it up, right? They're no longer operating well, right? Just operating average. Normally you can operate average one, you hire decently, but operating well, right? So what's my main role? When does it change? When do I have to change? How do I change? And everybody changes differently, right? Some people need to go through pain to change. That should be the worst way. Some people can change based on just learning from other people. That would be great. Then you need to pick who to learn from, right? You can't learn from anyone who shares something with you. That won't work also. Right? So that discernment matters a lot. How patient? Normally founders in the beginning are freaking impatient. You have to be, because you're firefighting. But once you grow past a certain size, you actually have to be patient because your staff are not as crazily motivated as you are. Right? Unless, of course, you can pay the best, then you surround yourself with crazily motivated people. That's another strategy. Right? So how patient do I need to be? Not just with myself or my staff, but my co-founders also, right? How much should I focus? And there's no hard and fast answer, right? So all these questions, actually, I realize great founders, they have it on their mind, right? Once you are past a product market fit, meaning that you are trying to scale, you're not fighting just to pay the next 3 months payroll. If you are fighting to pay the next 3 months payroll, this is actually not for you, this program. The third thing will share, right? Because you have far more immediate problem. You can't be thinking that much. You have to be getting it work, right? And how do I know if things are doing well? It's sometimes very tempting to think things are doing well, meaning you maybe make a few 100,000 or $1 million profit a year, you feel quite fine, right? Yeah, but after a while, if you let it slide, then the competition will catch up, especially if you're in a competitive space, right? Which most people are. So we developed this to answer a lot of all these questions. So I'm going to throw a lot of questions at you guys, right? Today is just a preview. So I'm going to throw a lot of questions to you guys. These are what we think if you are probably up to a 200-300 man show, and I'm talking about really professional man, meaning that it's a pretty decent size scale-up entity, right? What you need to actually be thinking. And I hope it helps because there could be blind spots, right? Because normally to get to a certain size, you're probably very good at something. Otherwise, you can't get there, right? You're probably decent at certain things and you're probably decent at the rest. You're good at something, decent at the rest, but there could be one or two blind ones. And whether the blind is damning for you or not, right? And it really depends. Some people can be just so good at that one thing that it brings the whole company for a very long distance, right? But some people actually, they find all the blind spots and they plug them fast, right? Then you scale even faster, even better. Okay, so some of the questions to answer, and these are the topics that our program will cover. Okay, so the first one is strategy and founder management, right? So strategic planning is very important. Once you are, I will argue, once you pass 2 million revenue, meaning that you already have a product market fit, right? Maybe you have 20 people. Strategic planning matters a lot. So you gotta ask yourself, right? Are you doing this systematically every year? Right? How much time you spend on it? Is it deliberate? Is it rigorous? Right? Do you follow through with it, or is it just a document you and your co-founders generate, then your staff couldn't care less about it? Right? That means you don't cascade. Right? How are you measuring it? How are you incentivizing yourself and your co-founders? I was so shocked that a lot of companies don't even think of like proposing to say that, hey, if I cross a certain number, I pay me and my co-founder something. It's so basic, but somehow nobody thinks of that. Right? Because they're afraid the investor may reject, right? Or maybe they are more afraid that they want to give themselves a wiggle room. The founder want to give themselves wiggle room, because if you set yourself a goal $500,000, if I don't hit, I actually don't get a bonus. I'm not giving myself wiggle room, right? But shouldn't that be how you run a business, right? If you really want a big business. So how do you keep yourself and your co-founders engaged? How do you grow with your company, right? Do you start talking to each other to say, hey, maybe once the tech team grow past 10 people, you're not suitable to be the CTO? Maybe, right? Very difficult ones, but the sooner the management team and the key leaders are aware, the easier, right? And then how do you adhere to strategy? How do you cascade so that your middle management are doing it? So that what you want to do appears in the rank and files KPIs. Do they even have KPIs, right? That's one for the HR. So that's the first topic, right? So we will actually have a session with learning, follow-on learning on the topic of strategy, right? And founder, how to think about founders, right? Each other, basically, right? The second one is product and marketing, right? Very important, right? How do you decide what to build? How do you decide what to improve? Do you have a process for that? How do you price it? Do you always just be the cheapest when you launch, even though you think your product is probably very, very good? Is your product really very, very good? Do you know that, right? Yeah, right? Then how do you position it? Right? Do you use channel sales or you use direct sales? These are more product decisions and marketing decisions. If you are doing B2B, this one thing I have a lot of experience. If you are selling to a business function, right? Do you go by a feature-based approach, which is a very tech approach, right? Give you a whole list of all the features I have. But actually, we learn, at least for our line, selling using problem-solving approach is much better, right? If you don't even know the difference, then it means there's a lot to learn, right? So one thing I learned running a business is there's so much to learn about running a business. It's almost endless, right? There are broad principles, and then you got very niche, specific stuff that is useful for certain cases, right? Which one outsource, which one build in-house, right? How do I know my tech team is good? I thought about that before. I was very shocked, honestly, this company of ours, brilliant people, Yeah, I know brilliant people, like scholar level one. Yeah, and yet 5 years still cannot figure out whether you got good tech team or not. Right? It's probably mixed with a lot of emotional sunk cost stuff, right? Meaning that you already back this CTO for too long, become friends and all that kind of thing, right? Yeah. So the third topic we try to address, right, which we have a sharing session and a facilitation session to address, is sales strategy and management. Right? This one is very specific. So when we saw our business to career builder, I was shocked at how the Americans run their sales. Right? This is B2B sales. A few thousand sales headcount, right? We only had basically 50 or 60, but they shared with us everything they do. And before that, we actually learned we hired a sales director from Yellow Pages. So we also learned how Yellow Pages did their sales in Singapore. That was around 150 sales staff, right? So how do you structure your sales team for the next stage? Sales is a science, it's not an art. Okay, I've fallen on that side of it already. There is no art to sales. It is making it to a science. And once you get it right, you can rinse and repeat very well. Then your people don't matter. You can keep changing them. Right? Of course they matter, but I'm seeing it from a very cold top level point of view. Okay. So how do you structure your sales team for the next stage? How do you recruit the right people, right? All your JDs, retain, right? There's a lot to all these things, right? And I find it's useful to listen to different examples. So Tengmo, I think this one will be Tengmo and me training. So I will be training on our B2B sales staff. How do we do B2B sales? Tengmo will be training on channel sales because he used to be CEO for Motorola Solutions, a lot of channels, a lot of distribution partners. Used to be CEO for Pacific Internet also, but I think that one not so much. That one B2C sales, right? And some corporate sales. Yeah. So we will share about all these topics, right? How to design. Some questions as you scale is very basic one. I have a sales leader, 4 staff under them. Sales leader used to be top sales, now trying out to be a manager. Very common scenario, right? So now does my sales team need to still sell? Because the company is all tied to sales, right? Last time as a commission. So how do you do the transition so that the sales leadership becomes a pure leadership, people management? And what size it makes sense? All these have a lot of common sense things to it, right? And so we will cover on those topics. And of course, sales tools, not just CRM, but more and more sales tools nowadays, right? Yeah. Okay, so that's the third one. And then the fourth topic is financial strategy and management. So this one actually linked as projects with some of our portfolio companies, whereby and this is why we end up creating this program, because we were not just joining the boards, but after a while they say, hey, can you do more work than just a board member? Because a board member only meet once every 1-2 months, comment only one, right? But some of them want us to actually go there, talk to their HR manager, talk to their finance manager, and review whatever they are doing. Then insert in practices, right? Then it's up to the HR manager or the finance manager or the sales leadership, they want to adopt the practices, right? So one of the key things, a lot of from a founder level, and a lot of my questions are from the top management point of view. So you could have 2 hats, you could be a co-founder that owns a good chunk of the company, but you're running finance. Then it's double relevant to you. But actually, even if you are the CTO co-founder, you should care a lot about all the other functions, right? Because your final outcome is going to come from your stake in the company, not the salaries, right? So financial strategy, what do you expect, right? If you are just a $1-2 million business, what should finance function look like, right? It'd be nice to know, right? And if you grow bigger, what should it look like? And what do I need to put in place to get there, right? And of course, we do cover a bit of how to think about cash flow and fundraising, but actually that one's covered to death. I mean, the entire ecosystem focuses on that last question, right? Which is kind of putting the cart before the horse all the time, right? Yeah, so, but anyway, yes, of course, we will also cover a bit of cash flow management, how to think about it, right? And all that. And the third one is quite meaningful also, right? So rather than view HR as just a pure cost, sorry, not HR, finance, it's just a pure cost center, right? How do you make it relevant to your strategic planning process? How do you make finance relevant to each line manager so that they don't just see the finance people as just a burdensome, right? Usually it's compliance, right? Collection or AR, but how do they make them a bit of a partner, right? To the sales, to the marketing. It's from the budget, right? Obviously, right? So you have to, yeah, but you got to see what is being done, right? Then you know whether it makes sense to implement your company. Of course, the last one is HR and management. Okay, Ning is telling me I need. Okay, yeah, it's HR and management. So that's the other topic. We will run workshop, facilitation, plus some peer learning, right? Actually, HR is very, very important because it deals with culture building also. It's actually one of the key, right? It's not a platitude to say that HR is strategic. Okay, it is definitely strategic, all right? So, what should be the size of your HR team? If I'm going to grow a lot more, what should it look like? At what stage do I need to design every one of my roles? You'll be shocked. There can be companies that are 300 men strong, don't have well-defined roles, don't have well-defined salaries, right? But then there are also companies that are just 200 men or 100 men strong, super defined, like an MNC like that, right? Which one is more set for growth, right? Right. So think about it, right? So actually, you can do a lot in HR. Actually, when Ning goes in and looks at some of our startups for the HR angle, there are a lot of things they can do. But again, do you have the right co-founder leading it? Do you have the right HR person leading it, right? How to design performance development process, how to implement it well, right? I think designing is easy. You can Google OKRs, right? KPIs, balance scorecard for the whole company. All these tools are quite easy to find. I think a lot of the sharing will be on how it's actually implemented, which is more important and what to look out for, right? And then of course, how do you force every employee to recognize the HR part of their work, right? If they are people manager, if they are staff, right? What are they responsible for? It's not just the job roles. There's usually a cadence, a kind of things that they have to do. Like they have to go to their boss and tell them what they did well, what they didn't do well. They have to be tracking what they're meant to do well, right? So I find companies that are well run, everybody knows exactly what they need to do, what they're aiming for, and they are given the right tools to do it. Then the performance review processes become very easy for the bosses, right? And everyone knows exactly where they stand, right? So that's the fifth one, right? So I will pass over. So this program, we are attempting to answer all these questions, right? And it's not a one answer. We are just attempting to give a point of view that probably worked. We try our best to make sure every example we give worked, right? Because you got to learn from things that work. Learning from things that don't work, not so easy, because any other thing can also don't work, right? But things that work, if you find that largely you have the same factors at play, then you can try to implement, right? Some things work, but you don't have the same factors at play internally, then you also can't use it that well, right? Okay, so I'll pass over to Nick.
So actually, I hope you came to a bit of conclusion of what everything Dashing was saying. Was actually after you figure that out already, how do you make them into processes and systems? And of course, from the founder's point of view, you need to build processes and systems across all your functions. So for the program itself, we intend for it to be a year-long program. It will be workshops and panels. Workshops will be conducted by 4 of us. And then it will be supported by panels where we leverage on founders we know what in the ecosystem or other AngelCentral senior functional corporate people to share their experiences. So a lot of the learning here will be case studies, face-to-face interactions and talkings. Okay, but be very clear that it's very time intensive. So you need to know that you will need to spend time. After the program, each company that signed up, we have allocated 4 hours of office hours where you can spend time with us to talk about specifically your case. But that one, actually, ideally, your whole team, the 3 person who's participating in team can come together. But please do not see this as consultancy work. This is not a solution building for you. It's more to give you another point of view, sharing what we know, sharing what we have learned from building, supporting our companies. Concretely, these are the topics that we're going to cover. So it's to answer all the questions that Dashing shared just now. However, I will be very candid and say that I have not decided how to sequence them. Actually, Shirley, can you share my mind? When we were trying to, so we are coming out with the content now, but when we're trying to come out with the content, we realized that when you're talking about strategy, it's actually a lot about people. When you're talking about marketing, you're talking a lot about product, pricing. So the 6 topics that we're going to cover are the colored fields, but I'm trying to sequence them right now. So these are the contents that the broad strokes of what we're going to cover. But sequencing of how we're going to do it, I don't have it yet, okay? But the schedule, I would like you to take note. The whole program itself will take about 40 hours per person who is participating. So going back to the slides, these are the schedules we're going to do. Once the program starts, we will do a face-to-face, get to know each company better so that we know specifically where you're coming from. That one is one-on-one as one of us with one company participating. And then the first week of April, with 3 mornings of workshop, 3 topics to cover. Then we'll have panels to support that 3 topics that we covered. August, I think this is also first week will be morning. The reason why we schedule it for 3 half-day workshops is so that because I know you're still running your business. You cannot just attend. I don't think we have the luxury to say that you guys can take 1 week off. I mean, we were there, we know that if you're off, probably you'll be answering calls all the time if you need to be away for a whole week. So afternoon, you go back to work, but subsequently, it'll be panels. And during that period of time, you can schedule blocks of 60 minutes to talk to us, to go back to what you want to address. Then in addition to that, all the companies we invited to, so remember AngelCentral, our original design is actually meant for angel learning. So we do have vertical learnings on towards certain topics. You guys were invited to join that as well, but you need to let us know if you're coming. All right. And then usually year end, we will have a members luncheon where all the AngelCentral, I mean not all, maybe about 40, 50 angels. I know some of you are thinking of fundraising, so it would be nice to network with them as well. Okay, so this is actually the program. So an ideal scale-up participating company should be year 3, minimally year 3 of your business. You should. So in the startup speak, we have 0 to 1, 1 to 5. You understand what 0 to 1, 1 to 5 means, right? So ideally, a company that is participating in this program should be in your 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 stage. If you are not figuring out if you're still figuring out product market fit, I think the program is not suitable because it's not designed to help you figure out who is your first customer. How do I get my daily revenue stream? The idea is I have these revenue streams already. How do I get into my hockey stick? Okay, and definitely it's not a program for you to figure out how to fundraise. In fact, we have one workshop coming out in April for fundraising. If you're interested, you go for that one. So this program itself, throughout the year, almost 40 hours per person. I mean, 40 hours of content that you have to consume. You will attend all. Okay, coming to Q&A already. I finished the features. Any questions regarding that? And this was actually on the ScaleUp website. I hope you had time to go through that. Is there anything that you want to address? If not, I will just pick on the one that why we designed for this to be company-based and not CEO-based.
So maybe just to give a bit more color. So the workshops will be run probably 3 hours each, right? First 1 hour plus will be just download, right? We're sharing practices, some theory behind it, right? And the goal is that because we're all founders before, right? You don't know what you don't know. So my main goal running this is to let you see that there could be things that are probably important enough at this stage already, or at least the next 2 years, and you should try to address it. Things that you're already good at, right? I mean, some of you maybe run very good B2B sales company already. Then chances are your practices are going to be very solid there already, right? Or your product itself, maybe the way you iterate and the way you're already very happy with the way it is. Then it becomes just a refresher. You hear from other people a different point of view, right? So each workshop, we will do theory, right? Then the next 1.5 hours will be case studies, discussions, right? And then when she talk about the what do you call it? Peer learning. What do you call it? The expert, right? It's actually going to be sessions whereby we don't just use the 4 of us. We're hoping to invite great founders or great CXOs, whatever the key functional lead they are at, to come and share. So for example, I got a good company called Coolbits. If you have kids in primary school, you'll know it's all using his software, right? Actually, his HR needed a lot of help. So what he did was he got the Garena early HR director and paid the person as a consultant to just come and share. Right? So that's our idea, where we will try to get great functional leaders to just spend some time, right, with the cohort to share what they have been doing, what's best practice for this size. No point sharing for 2,000-3,000 headcount, it's not applicable. You can't implement most of it. Right? So that's the idea. We're trying to help you figure out what you do well, optimize, but more importantly also what you don't know. Right? There will be a lot of gaps, I'm almost certain. Right? And then you realize after a while you have to figure out what kind of business you want to build. So like last time, right, for honestly, our business, I focus on sales. I just double down on our strength. Our product is okay but not the best, right? So, but it's a conscious decision. And once it's conscious, you tend to win because you are presenting the market without any unknown. It's not like you didn't know you're not the best product, right? But you are the best one, the most aggressive sales effort. Also can, right? Yeah.
But when Career Builder acquired us, they were very honest. They say that actually your product was a lot more comprehensive than Career Builder's own portal.
Yeah, because Career Builder is also a sales organization. That's why they appreciated us. Right? But
Yes.
if you look at Job Street software, strong back then. Yeah.
So benchmarking actually is one of the key founder mindset that we would like you to adopt as well. Because I think actually a big part of this one is founder mindset, regardless of your functional role in the office. It's a founder mindset that all co-founders need to have. And ideally, from founder, you transition into a business owner. You cannot say that my CTO whole thing has to do this, so it's none of my business. The fact is when Eric had problem with the team, I had to step in to manage the team, right? Because if the whole team zao, then how? Right? You have to realize that your co-founder's problem is actually your problem. you have to appreciate each other's problem and help each other solve the problem. That's actually one of the reasons why for this program we designed it to be a co-founder management team style rather than pure CEO centric support. Because the thing is also very realistic speaking, sometimes if the CEO grow, but the co-founders do not grow or the job outgrew them, that's why your CEO also have a problem, right? So if we can support the team to grow together, I think that's where we are trying to come to. Any questions you want me to discuss here? No. Yes. CEOs, I would say we're not thinking of the professional CEOs. The thing is, if you're a professional CEO, you're hired to do the job, you better know what you're hired for. Okay?
It's also a scale of company. I mean,
Yeah.
if it is a 20 to 100, 200 man show, I think it could be useful still, right? But some of our content will be assumed that the top management owns a good chunk of the company, right? Because you're aligned that way to the outcome of the company rather than just the paycheck, right? But a lot of the sharing is relevant. I mean, Tengmo was a professional CEO his whole career, right? Yeah.
The parts is they don't care about business part. So everybody the owners should have a business mindset.
Very well said. Yes, I agree.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that one line, a lot to unpack already. How do you even make that happen? There are systems and processes that can make all this make your culture more aligned towards that kind of outcome, right? Not just your top management, but you ideally want your middle management also, right?
So one key thing, I think, one trait that we see in a lot of companies in the past few years is really using money to solve the problem. Does money really solve the problem? Yeah.
From when you say multiple reps company, what about in the scenario? Let's say my startup, my scale up, most of my operations is overseas. Keep it quite lean in Singapore. What about in that scenario?
So I would say the reps should be someone who is holding a key functional decision-making role.
But they can zoom in if they are overseas, like they can zoom in, right? But I think this program we are limiting to 3 people.
Well, we're keeping it to 3 reps per company. Ideally, your CEO and 2 more C-level key decision-making persons. So go back to why this is a team-based participation is because we would like the team to grow together, and that, I mean, there's a reason why solo founders actually a lot of times things are a lot harder. So if you have 3 sets of brains to use, it's good to work together. However, I would like this program to be in person. If we really have a good number of companies from overseas, then we can design a Zoom-based program. But currently, I'm planning for in person because the interaction is very different. And I don't think a hybrid model is a good idea because you will tend to emphasize the on-site and ignore the people on Zoom. And on Zoom, I don't want it to be there.
So James, you are thinking 1 person in person, then the other 2 can be zoom in, is it?
Yeah, because my co-founder's in the Philippines. I guess he could fly in.
We can talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, so long as there's someone in person, right? The key thing is we don't want all Zoom because then we get no rapport with the company at all. Yeah. Okay. Any questions?
Any questions?
Basically, just CTO or technical team are all in overseas. We are cheaper there. India, Vietnam, all this from this board.
Yeah.
So that's why we have yeah, I think that's one of the key things that we would like to address as part of the program. A lot of times, yeah, the technical talent in Singapore is really expensive. Yeah. So what are the challenges? How do you pick the key management within countries so that you need to scale up your so that you can scale up your tech organization? And at some point you realize, for example, I'll talk about this during the program. For example, 13, 14 years ago, when I first went into Vietnam, at that point, Vietnam was very affordable. Right now, Vietnam is a great market for tech talent, but it's no longer as affordable. So, as a startup founder, what are the other considerations that you might have in terms of, do you need another location, or should you double down in a certain location? So those are the types of topics that we will attack.
Okay. So these are actually the participation team, the terms. It's a fee-based program. So ScaleUp is not an incubator. You do not participate and surrender your shares. It's not an investment program too. At the end of the program, AngelCentral is not going to invest in you. You can submit your deck to AngelCentral on the investor side to talk about fundraising, but graduating from here doesn't guarantee that. For this program, we are looking for companies that are looking, who really want to scale and really want to bring the company to the next level. And also, Hong Ting has come up with a long list of reading materials that you guys need to do homework. And then the idea is you have to put in effort. So we are not here to give you downloads. We're here to share experiences. We're here to share case stories. You have to listen to those stories. You have to discuss those stories. You got to discern the stories. And then you apply. Okay, we are not going to come up with a bespoke program for you and then you just go and implement that one. I don't think it will. It's not the intention here. But through the program, through some of the panels, you might find people that you think that they can help with your work. You're welcome to tie up with them, to talk about contracts with them and all those things. Those will be outside this program. Okay? I want to highlight on this Chatham House rule. It means, so because we're going to do a lot of case studies, we will try, if it's Job Central related, we can share because that one is our information. But if it's other companies that we learn through our support work, we will not be able to share the name. But regardless, we would like the participants to observe this rule, meaning you do not reveal, you can apply the knowledge you pick up, but you cannot reveal the source, you cannot reveal the names if you come to learn about that, because this is so that we allow us to share comfortably and confidentially. Okay, so this is actually a one key thing that we will need companies to, the participants to take on. So if you're keen to join this, can share with us your intention. Gwen has the participation agreement that you can take a look, and the terms and agreements are actually out there. The fees are for 3 packs. You can either do a one lump sum or you can do an installment over two sessions. Okay, the program will start on March 1st. Once you commit, we will schedule a session with ideally the whole 3 people of you to get to know you better. And however, if through that session we think that you maybe still slightly earlier for the program, then we will refund and let you know that maybe next time we will do an incubator program. Okay, I'm just trying to be very candid because the thing is, I don't intend for it to be a big group. When it's a smaller group, we need the mindset and stage to be similar. Then it's beneficial for everybody. Right? Thank you very much. Any questions, can you please share with us now, or
we move to the program side so that you can see the dates. Because the dates are already fixed already. So I think, at the very the key thing is the April and the August, right?
Yeah.
Those 3 mornings I mean that's where the most of the value is being generated, right? So you definitely want to come for all. Of course, if not all 3 can come, but at least the person in charge of that function should come, right? Because it's by function, you can see, right? But a lot of it is really, besides functional sharing, we are trying to also get the C-level and the founders to understand that actually you want to run a great business, you're actually pushing different knobs at the same, all of them. It's not just always just one knob. A lot of companies can be very one-dimensional. You're just very good at one particular thing functionally, whether it's sales, whether it's marketing, or you got a great product. Right? Like we saw one recently in Malaysia. We wanted to invest, it didn't work out, but basically super good product. Then we realized everything else once we did cannot. Right? Yeah, right. Governance not that strong. Somehow the founder don't think it's important to have great financial records. right? And the best part is, I don't think he's lying. I think he's a very good person. He's ethically correct, probably okay ethically guy, right? But somehow you don't, once your other parts of your business don't catch up, your one thing can only take you so far. Usually start below 5 million revenue. You make 1 million profit, then you'll be one of those towkes running around, that's all. But if you want to build something much bigger, then actually there's a lot more to scale. Yeah.
What's up, bro?
Oh, no problem. This one we're on their boards. So I'm on quite a few boards, so is Shaoning.
So the one actually is to share with you our working experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, our personal experiences.
I'm on
he's
the
on
board for Hwa Chong. Yeah. So not Hwa Chong institution, I'm MOE appointment. I'm on the Chinese High International School side. Right, so actually for them it was very fun. I'm the one who helped them build their strategic plan for the next 5 years in the principle. Yes. Yeah. So one thing good is that's what I was trying to share, right? When you join a much bigger organization and you see how they run, I realized I also learn a lot, right? Then to apply. So you start to get, actually a lot of it boils down to whether you know what good looks like for strategy, for sales, for marketing, for IT, right? And for being an entrepreneur. If your what good looks like keeps improving over time, chances are you're going to build something very significant. You know what I mean, right? Yeah, so it's like you meet a person, I mean, I used to think making a few million a year is a big deal. Then I met people who make 30, 40 million a year. Then I realized that, oh, there are people even one level higher, if you care about that, right? So knowing what good looks like matters a lot.
The other thing actually is also, as a founder, it's a very sacrificing journey. I think if you're a founder, you've been running your business for a year, for 3 years, you know what it means to be sacrificing. Because like when we were starting, like Hong Ting is a father to many young kids. When we were first few years dealing with young kids, my son can tell me that Papa is here, but Papa is not here. Because we're not present. But physically there, we're not present. So how do you deal with it? A lot of times it's actually internally how you deal with it, right? And then I think last week I just got a text from one of the company from EF who just say it got burnt out. How do you prevent this type? I mean, it's just a lot of it's mindset. It's a lot of jugglings and things like that. So this is something that personally I really feel a lot for a lot of founders I work with, because you sacrifice a lot. But the thing is, if you burn out, you didn't prioritize properly, you burn out halfway, your big outcome is not going to come. How do you keep pushing in a sustainable way? And sometimes the hard decisions, like sometimes if you have to break up with your co-founder, how do you break up properly? Because if you don't break up properly, the business is gone.
So ideally, don't break up. That's what workshop 1 is about, right? It's how to anticipate the problems, how to have a process whereby you have common understanding. Some people are very interesting, you know, they can build a very good business, but between the 2 of them or 3 of them, they never discuss what happens if there's a trade offer, right? Then you realize there are differing opinions, right? Then that is a bit late already, right? You can still solve it. I mean, if the business is doing well, a lot of things can solve because everyone has a vested interest to make it work. Right? But ideally, if you are the key or you are equal shareholders, everyone should be trying to anticipate as much as possible, right? Yeah. So this is not therapy. This one is to help you scale up. Okay, we're just sharing because yes, we have encountered such things. And also, I do want to make it clear, this workshop, I think, is for people whose business is already working to some extent. It's then how you do justice to it. Because to even get to working stage is 1 in 5, right? Or maybe 2 in 5 max, 2 in 7. Right? To get past 1 million is working. Right? Then you want to do it justice, right? It's working, you finally have revenues, maybe you raise money, right? Then how do you do it justice? You already got past the first hurdle, so to speak, right? A lot of our startups just die within 2 years, right? Totally can't even reach product market fit, Yeah. So a lot of emotional turmoil along the way, but this one is not. This program is not for that. Okay, this one is not a therapy program. Yeah.
we can talk about it at the 60-minute sessions and review, but then not publicly. Okay, so we can chat more. You can get the program commitment form from Gwen to find out a bit more. If not, we can chat offline. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.